Did you know that over 15 million older adults in the United States now live alone after retirement? And here's the twist most people don't expect. Research shows many of them aren't lonely at all. In fact, a surprising number report feeling happier, more independent, and more in control of their lives than peers who don't live solo. That flies in the face of the story we've all been told, that living alone in your 70s means sadness, risk, or decline. Think about it. Family members often plead, "Mom, don't stay by yourself," or, "Dad, it's safer if you move in with us." Neighbors whisper about emergencies, falls, or quiet nights spent alone. And yes, those fears are real. But here's the part most people miss. Sometimes solitude isn't about isolation, it's about peace. It's about being able to cook your dinner when you want, keep your favorite chair exactly where it belongs, and wake up in a home that feels truly yours. And in this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden benefits of living alone after retirement. The ones that rarely make the headlines but transform the way older women and men see themselves, their families, and their futures. By the end, you may see independence in a completely new light. So before we dive in, do this, hit like and subscribe, because the next few minutes might just change how you think about aging, freedom, and joy itself. Let me introduce you to Haroldine Quinn, a 74-year-old retired church choir director from the rolling hills of Kentucky. For decades, her voice was the heartbeat of Sunday mornings, guiding congregations through hymns, rehearsals, and Christmas cantatas. But today, her music looks different. Every morning at exactly 6 a.m., Haroldine sits at her upright piano in the corner of her living room, playing scales and humming to herself. No congregation. No choir robes. Just her, rediscovering the sound of her own voice. After her husband's passing, the story seemed written for her. Her daughter begged her to move in. Friends suggested senior apartments. Neighbors whispered that staying alone would be too hard. But Haroldine quietly shocked them all. Instead of folding into someone else's household, she chose to remain in her own home, by herself. And when she announced it, people didn't know what to say. Some thought it was reckless. Others thought it was lonely. But for Haroldine, it was neither. It was a declaration of identity. She explained, "I spent years living for others, raising children, directing choirs, caring for my husband. For the first time in my life, I get to decide what my mornings, my evenings, my days look like." Her story reminds us of something powerful. Living alone in later life isn't about being abandoned, it's about embracing a freedom you never expected. Step number 1. The gift of daily autonomy. One of the most surprising gifts Haroldine discovered in living alone was the sheer freedom of setting her own rhythm. After decades of living around her husband's schedule, her children's routines, and even the rigid rehearsal times of her choir, she suddenly found herself in charge of every moment. She described it as moving from singing in someone else's choir to finally conducting my own life. She wakes up when she chooses, not when the alarm blares, not when someone else's needs tug her out of bed. Some mornings she rises at dawn, pours herself a cup of chamomile tea, and plays soft scales on her piano. Other mornings, she lingers under the covers until the sunlight fills her room. And for Haroldine, that choice alone is deeply liberating. It's not about laziness, it's about ownership of her time. Food became another revelation. After years of making meals that pleased her husband's tastes or grandchildren's picky preferences, Haroldine fills her kitchen with what delights her. Fresh strawberries, a loaf of sourdough from the local bakery, her favorite herbal teas. She no longer feels guilty for making oatmeal 3 nights in a row if that's what she craves. "I eat because I want to, not because I have to," she said with a laugh. That small shift brought her more peace than she expected. And then came the pink living room. For half a century, Haroldine compromised on decorating choices. Earth tones her husband preferred, practical furniture the kids wouldn't stain. But one Saturday morning, she picked up a paint roller and covered her walls in a soft, rosy blush. It shocked her daughter. Her neighbors teased her. But Haroldine stood in the middle of her living room, hands on her hips, smiling wider than she had in years. "For the first time in 50 years, I painted my living room pink, because I could." This is the overlooked beauty of living alone after retirement. Autonomy isn't just about freedom, It's about reclaiming joy in the little details of daily life. From what time the kettle whistles to what color shines on the walls, autonomy brings back a sense of control many seniors didn't realize they had lost. Have you ever made a decision just for yourself, something small but deeply satisfying? Share it in the comments. Your story might inspire someone else. Step number 2. Healthier boundaries with family. When Haroldine first announced she would be living alone, her family panicked. Her daughter imagined long, lonely evenings, her son worried about falls, and her grandchildren whispered about grandma rattling around by herself. But what none of them expected was that Haroldine's independence would actually bring them closer together, not out of obligation, but out of choice. Before, family contact sometimes carried tension. When Haroldine stayed with her daughter for a few weeks after her husband's passing, she felt smothered by constant questions. Are you eating enough? Did you take your pills? Do you need help with the laundry? These came from love, but to Haroldine, they chipped away at her dignity. She didn't want to feel like a patient in her own child's home. Living alone created a shift. Now, when her daughter calls, it isn't to check if Haroldine survived the night. It's to laugh about a TV show, share updates about the grandkids, or ask for her famous cornbread recipe. The conversations became lighter, warmer, and more intentional. Haroldine admitted with a smile, "My daughter started calling more often once she realized I chose independence, not isolation." It was no longer about duty, it was about connection. Grandchildren noticed too. When they visited Haroldine in her cozy pink living room, they didn't see a fragile woman in need of saving. They saw a vibrant grandmother who baked cookies because she wanted to, not because she had to. They played piano together, took selfies in her freshly redecorated space, and left feeling inspired rather than burdened. Experts often point out that seniors who live alone and maintain autonomy actually foster healthier family dynamics. Instead of constant monitoring, visits become events everyone looks forward to. Instead of strained dependence, independence breeds respect. Haroldine's family learned that boundaries didn't push them apart, they drew them closer, giving everyone space to grow individually and still meet in joy. This is a powerful benefit of senior independence that often goes unnoticed. Living alone doesn't cut family ties, it reshapes them into something stronger, lighter, and filled with genuine affection. Have you noticed your relationships feel different when you have more independence? Tell us in the comments, it might resonate with another viewer today. Step number 3. Rediscovering old passions. One of the most overlooked benefits of living alone after retirement is the return of something priceless. Time to rediscover yourself. For decades, Haroldine's days were shaped by others. She was a wife, a mother, a church choir director, a caregiver. Every hour was accounted for, dinners to prepare, schedules to juggle, people depending on her. After her husband passed and her children moved into lives of their own, she realized she had forgotten what it felt like to simply do something because it brought her joy. Living alone gave her that chance back. Without constant interruptions or the weight of someone else's preferences, Haroldine began exploring old hobbies she once tucked away in the attic of her memory. She dusted off her sewing machine and rejoined a local quilting circle. The first time she walked into that community room, fabric squares spread across tables, laughter bubbling up between stitches, she said it felt like finding myself again after years of being someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's caretaker. And it didn't stop at quilting. She started tending a small vegetable garden in her backyard, something she had always wanted to try but never had the space or time for. She signed up for a watercolor painting class at the local senior center, where she discovered a natural talent for landscapes. She even returned to her piano with fresh energy, no longer feeling pressured to practice for Sunday service, but simply to play for the joy of hearing the notes fill her home. What's remarkable is how these passions didn't just enrich her days, they improved her health and outlook. Studies confirm that seniors who engage in creative or purposeful hobbies have lower rates of depression, better memory, and even improved mobility. For Haroldine, these hobbies gave structure to her days without stress. Instead of waking up to an empty schedule, she woke up with anticipation. What will I create today? The ripple effect touched her family, too. Her grandchildren began visiting not out of worry, but out of excitement. wanting to help in the garden, learn a few piano notes, or pick fabrics for her next quilt. Her independence and hobbies made her home a hub of creativity, not a place of decline. This is the hidden truth of living alone after 60. Solitude isn't just about quiet. It's about reclaiming the freedom to fill your days with meaning, whether through gardening, music, reading, or joining community classes. Independence gave Haroldine back the space to be her own person again. If you've rediscovered an old hobby, or want to, what would it be? Share in the comments. You might inspire someone else to start again today. Step number 4. Building a chosen family. One of the quiet surprises Haroldine discovered after choosing to live alone at 74 was this: independence doesn't mean isolation. In fact, it opened the door for her to create a chosen family, a circle of friends who support, laugh, and grow alongside her. For years, she assumed that family meant children, grandchildren, and the relatives she'd known all her life. But as she stepped into her new chapter, she realized that joy could come from expanding her circle to include people who shared her current stage of life, her passions, and her outlook. At first, Haroldine was hesitant. She worried that showing up to a social event alone would feel awkward. But in 2025, more and more U.S. community centers and senior organizations are running living solo support circles, programs specifically designed to connect older adults who live independently. These aren't pity groups, they're hubs of empowerment where seniors exchange practical tips, share meals, and even plan outings together. When Haroldine walked into her first meeting, she saw a room filled with people just like her, widows, widowers, or lifelong singles, each carrying their own story, yet united by a desire to live fully. It was there that she found her sisters by choice. A retired nurse who shared her love of gardening, a widowed schoolteacher who loved quilting, and a vibrant 72-year-old who swore by salsa dancing as her secret to staying young. Week by week, those acquaintances became her confidants. They checked in on each other after doctor's appointments, celebrated birthdays together, and even took weekend trips to local art fairs. Haroldine often says her new friendships feel like sisters I got to pick. Unlike family relationships, which sometimes carried guilt or unspoken expectations, these friendships were chosen out of mutual respect and joy. They filled her days with laughter and reassurance, but most importantly, they gave her a sense of belonging on her own terms. Research backs up her experience. Seniors who cultivate strong social networks outside their immediate family report higher levels of emotional well-being, stronger immune systems, and even longer lifespans. For Haroldine, this wasn't just theory, it was lived proof. The house that once echoed with silence now buzzed with phone calls, card games, and last-minute dinner invitations. Living alone didn't cut her off from love, it expanded her definition of family. She learned that independence doesn't mean closing doors. It means opening new ones to people who walk into your life because they want to, not because they have to. If you could build your own chosen family, who would be in it? Friends, neighbors, maybe even classmates from long ago. Share below, we'd love to hear your story. Step number 5. Boosting confidence and resilience. One of the most powerful, yet often overlooked, benefits of living alone after retirement is how it quietly rebuilds confidence. For Haroldine, every day became a reminder that she was still capable, still strong, and still in charge of her own life. At first, the thought of handling everything, from grocery shopping to bill payments, felt daunting. Her children worried that she would become overwhelmed. But what no one predicted was how these very tasks, once seen as burdens, became sources of pride and resilience. Haroldine put it simply: every bill I pay, every meal I cook, it reminds me I'm still capable, still strong. The ordinary rhythms of daily life transformed into affirmations of independence. Cooking breakfast in her quiet kitchen wasn't just about food. It was proof that she could nourish herself with care. Balancing her checkbook wasn't just about numbers. It was a declaration that she remained sharp and responsible. Even small victories, like fixing a leaky faucet or planting new flowers in her front yard, built a deep sense of accomplishment. Psychologists call this self-efficacy, the belief in one's ability to handle challenges. And in 2025, experts emphasize how important this is for seniors. Studies show that older adults who engage in daily self-care and home management activities report higher levels of emotional well-being and reduced risk of depression. Instead of becoming fearful of decline, they grow more resilient with each task completed. For Haroldine, confidence didn't arrive in grand gestures. It was born in the little choices she made day after day. Her children began to notice too. Instead of calling to remind her about appointments or offer to manage her finances, they started calling to ask her advice again. "Mom, how did you stretch the grocery budget when we were kids?" her daughter asked. "What's your secret to keeping the garden alive during dry spells?" These moments reminded Haroldine that her wisdom and strength still carried weight, not just for her, but for her family. Even her grandchildren saw her differently. They once thought of Grandma as someone who needed protecting, but now they admired her independence. One of them even told her, "You're cooler than half the kids I know, you actually do things on your own." That confidence she built through small acts rippled outward, reshaping how her family saw her role. Living alone didn't strip Haroldine of her safety net, it gave her a stronger foundation. Each task she tackled reinforced that she wasn't defined by age or circumstance, but by her determination to keep showing up for herself. And that resilience became contagious, inspiring her family to see aging not as fragility, but as an evolving form of strength. Do you feel a boost of pride when you handle tasks on your own? Which little wins make you feel most confident? Share them in the comments. We'd love to celebrate with you. Step number 6. The unexpected joy of quiet. When Haroldine first imagined living alone, she feared the silence. She pictured long evenings in an empty house, no background chatter, no footsteps, no voices breaking up the stillness. For many older women, that silence feels threatening at first, a reminder of loss, or of rooms that once held family laughter but now echo with memory. But Haroldine's experience took a surprising turn. Over time, silence became her companion, not her enemy. She described it beautifully. "Loneliness faded the moment I realized I was keeping myself company." In those quiet hours, she discovered a kind of freedom she had never known, even in the busiest seasons of her life. Without constant noise or interruptions, she could hear her own thoughts clearly. She began journaling again, something she hadn't done since her teenage years. She returned to prayer in the mornings, letting the soft hum of her piano keys accompany her whispered gratitude. What once felt like emptiness turned into a canvas she could fill with peace, reflection, and intention. Psychologists are beginning to confirm what Haroldine experienced firsthand. Silence can actually lower blood pressure, reduce stress hormones, and improve focus. For seniors, who often face overstimulation from TVs, phones, or even well-meaning family, moments of quiet can create space for healing. The house that once seemed too empty slowly revealed itself as a sanctuary. For Haroldine, quiet also reshaped her relationship with time. Without constant noise, she noticed the rhythms of her day more deeply. The kettle's whistle, the rustle of the trees outside her window, even the way sunlight shifted across her living room floor. These became small anchors of joy. Instead of rushing to fill silence with distraction, she learned to rest in it, to let it restore her. And perhaps most importantly, she realized that quiet gave her control over her environment. She could choose when to invite sound in, whether through a phone call, her piano, or the laughter of friends around the dinner table. But she no longer felt controlled by the absence of it. Silence had become her choice, not her burden. This shift is a powerful lesson for many seniors. Living alone doesn't have to mean living in loneliness. Quiet is not the same as isolation. It can be the doorway to reflection, spiritual renewal, and even creativity. As Haroldine discovered, the stillness gave her space to rediscover herself. Do you see silence as a gift or as something uncomfortable? How have you learned to enjoy your own company in quiet moments? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear. Let's take a moment to reflect on Haroldine's journey. What began as a decision that worried her family turned into a powerful lesson in autonomy, resilience, and joy. She discovered that living alone after retirement didn't strip her of connection. It strengthened it. She set her own rhythm and reclaimed daily autonomy. She built healthier, more intentional ties with her children and grandchildren. She rediscovered passions she had long tucked away, created a chosen family through new friendships, and grew stronger with every responsibility she carried. Most surprisingly, she found peace, and even joy, in the quiet moments that once felt daunting. Haroldines' words capture it best. "Living alone didn't make me lonely, it gave me back the woman I almost forgot I was." That is the true gift of independence in later life. Not isolation, but a return to self. And here's where you come in. If Haroldines' story gave you hope, inspired you, or reminded you of your own strength, hit that like button right now. Subscribe so you never miss another story that speaks directly to women like you. And share this video with someone who needs to see that living alone can mean living free, not lonely. And before you go, here's a sneak peek of what's next. 7 powerful secrets older women use to make their homes feel alive again in 2025. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Do you know someone living alone after 60? What's their experience been like? Share your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one.